gonna be alright. Yeah. Cause me and my clique, we don't give a fuck. Sweet Daddy, good job today. Good job. If you want it, you can get it. Let me know. I'm about to break this thing up. Let's go. If you want it, you can get it. Let me know. I'm about to break this thing up. If you want some, come get some.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling fans, welcome to Frozen Hell and welcome to FTW Future Focus. And this is our old school episode. I am your not so humble correspondent, Robert Black, and to my left on the screen is the founder of our feast, the FTW president, and the man who is paying his bills and making the rent today at the Westin. He is the mastermind, Bobby Rogers. Say hello, sir.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the FTW Future Focus Old School with Tony Motown Allen. I am here at work dealing with cheerleaders and frost and cold and ice, and yeah, I can say it would be chilling, but I think that'd be too
cliches are welcome on the Future Focus.
Guys, so stuff happened this week, and since we're doing old school this week, I can't address it. Next week, I advise y'all to get all your friends, all your people to come in and tune into the FTW Future Focus. I got something for a certain Dave Meltzer that I want to say. So,
oh, good Lord. Yeah.
All right, I'm out.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun episode. I can't wait for that. And last but certainly not least, in our three-man panel this week is the master of wine, women's song, and cigars, and the host of Old School. He is Tony Motown Allen. How's it going, man?
Oh, it's going good. I've been looking forward to Old School. Despite the weather and me changing some plans, I was originally going to Chicago this weekend, but that snow said, fuck you. Change your plans.
Yeah. I lived in Chi-Town for 10 years. I know exactly what you mean.
I mean, we woke up, Rob, this morning. I mean, I'm not sure what it was your way, but I'm sure it was, I woke up this morning, it was like -2. It got down to -4. I think right now it's like 2 degrees, but we don't have much snow.
Well, it's okay. It's a little bit warmer down here in southern Indiana by about 5 degrees. I'd say.
Okay.
It's still shrinkage cold down here, but as far as the snow goes, we didn't get nearly as much as advertised. Thank God.
It was like a dust day for the most part, so I'm pretty happy about it. Honestly, like as cold as it is, I'll take this cold over the snow any day, Rob.
Well, I'd say we probably down here we got about 1.5 inches somewhere in that neighborhood, but my problem is when the snow freezes right on top.
Yeah.
And then it snows again. And then, like we got in 2012, it was like ice with snow on top of ice on top of snow.
Like you got in 2012. We get that yearly in Chicago.
I know. I have experienced that frozen hell. Believe me.
My friends ask me when I'm moving back home, I'm like, shit, look out your window.
Yeah, exactly. See, I love Chicago, but I don't want to live there again because I can't take the winters no more. I went through 9 of them. No, thank you. No.
I'm the exact same way.
Yeah. But anyway, enough of old farts complaining about the weather. Let's get on to, we're starting off with a moment of the week, and I will turn the show over to you.
All right, so what we do for Old School is, and just so you guys know before we jump in, Marcus is in Chicago still having some weather issues and some internet issues, so he won't be able to join us because of the snowstorm wiped out his Wi-Fi. So
yep.
But what we do for the moment of the week, a tapped out moment of the week that for the Old School shows, we just focus in on our show though, because we don't really get to dive into like the current stuff. But I figured if we do moment and tap down for our particular shows, we can at least cover a little bit of it before we jump fully in. And I don't know if Mastermind is free. He's off camera a little bit. So yeah, he's not free. So I'm gonna do mine first, and then you can go ahead and Rob.
All right.
And if you guys know, I have 3 hours of Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. Yeah.
My moment of the week, in all honesty, was CM Punk. This promo that he did with Drew McIntyre was actually really good. It kind of ties into my tap out as well, though, for a different reason, though. But there was a tap out, in my opinion, when Drew came out. It was a tap out that was saved. I thought this was one of Punk's better promos since he's been back. You could tell the handcuffs is on him. I mean, we don't have like our CM Punk. We kind of got PG Punk, but I did like
PG-13 Punk.
Yeah. But even PG-13 Punk, this was a really good promo for him. It set up a good program with them, I think, and as we lead into WrestleMania, I kind of like to see how things go, though. So CM Punk got my moment of the week for Monday Night Raw.
Cool.
What do you got for AEW or
Dynamite?
Yeah.
Yep, Dynamite is my beat. My moment for Dynamite was actually a promo as well. It was a promo from 3 people, technically 4, but it was the Era of Joe promo. See, when it comes to Dynamite, I want to see more wrestling as much as possible, and we got that for Dynamite because it was their homecoming episode. But I really enjoyed. Oh, okay. I really enjoyed Joe coming out there and like setting the mood for everything that was happening, and then have Strickland and Paige and Hook all come out there and really spell out how much at stake the title is, and that Joe is going to have a rough time ruling the roost. So that was my moment. Bobby, can you give us yours real quick?
I really can't say that my moment of the week was on NXT. It's just Carter and Chance keeps impressing me everywhere I see them.
Okay.
They actually did a tag team bout at a house show that I saw videotape on, and these girls are phenomenal. I'm sorry if you out there are slipping on Carter and Chance. You might as well be outside right now in the 30 below zero cold on ice because you slipping bad.
Well, they're still NXT, so that counts.
Oh,
they're in the main roster.
Yeah, they main roster.
They're the actual women's tag team champions.
Hey,
I told you.
What's up, fellas?
ladies. Hey, the silent but deadly, marvelous Marcus Buckley joining us from Chicago. We are very glad that your Wi-Fi issues got solved.
Well, they're not solved yet. They've been going in and out, so I'm gonna stay.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see. We'll see how long I can stay in here.
All right. Well, while we've got you, do you have a moment of the week from Collision?
I didn't get to watch anything. My Wi-Fi out since Saturday afternoons. I haven't seen anything.
Hold on.
Okay.
Guys. We got somebody special in the chat right now. This gentleman has been in the business 30 years. This guy actually was a person that broke me into the business. Laughed at me when he gave me a superplex off the top rope and I lost my breath. He is superstar TJ Powers. TJ, what's up, man?
What chat is he in? I don't see it.
He's in the chat, in the comments.
Oh, okay, but that's cool. I have there he
Cool.
is. Yeah. Hey, what's up, TJ? Called matches.
He said, "I'm good."
Yeah, wonderful.
That man has taught me a lot about this business, so
yeah,
I can't do nothing but say, hey, thank you, and thank you for not killing me with me losing my breath on that superplex. That's all I gotta say.
Hey, TJ Powers, the superstar, is still active for Wild Championship Wrestling Outlaws in Indianapolis. So, hats
But
off
let
to
me,
him and hats off to this
I got
promotion.
since we on old school, like, I got to tell a story. I got to tell a story real quick with
All
him
right.
coming on. During that time, me and you were actually commentating. We were commentating during this time, and he pulled me out to the side of the back and said, "Hey, are you ready?" And I'm like, "I'm ready for what?" He's like, "Are you ready to go out there?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So he took me out there, and I started managing it for a second, and TJ, and it came up to where I had to be the one that actually turned on TJ. Now, TJ doesn't know this, but he probably did because he saw my face. I was nervous as all hell. It was like me seeing my ex-wife again, only this was fun. Um, TJ looked at me, said, "All right, kid, time to go." And it was time for the spot. And that week, yeah, it did kill me too. Little short ass. He had to get me down though. Well, if you see how tall he was, you understand what I say. He had to get me down on the ground to do it. Then you'll understand if you ever saw how tall he is. But um, we went to we did a thing where I had to do a little work, and he challenged me to a match the next week, and I'm like, oh. So we get into the match, and I have tried to climb the top rope before. It just does not work. I have never climbed the top rope. I will repeat. My feet are big. I am not balanced. I cannot climb the top rope for nothing. Second rope, I'm fine.
It's just one more
But
rope.
he got me up there and said, "Ready?" and suplexed me all the way to the ground. I lost every breath in my body. He looked at me, and he tried to hold a smile. And we went to the match 1, 2, 3, and I went to the back, and he just looked at me and said, "Welcome to the business, kid." Patted me on the back, and ever since then, this man has been around giving me good advice, being on my side. And this is why I love professional wrestling, because of moments like this. You know, he is the one, and I'm so glad he was the one that got me in. Him and Itch were the ones that got me in and broke me in and did my first matches and was in my ear and telling me, "Hey, why are you slouching when you walk? You look like you're leaned over." I was walking like the what they call the Leaning Tower of Pizza instead of walking straight. And he was like, "Why are you walking like you're a broken down Frankenstein? Stand up, you're tall." And these guys are the reason why I love pro wrestling so much. And these guys are why FTW is around. These are why we do our opinions the way we do. This is why I have the set that I do, because he was a friend that brought me in. I brought my friends in because guess what? They love wrestling too. They might not be able to do the suplexes and everything like I was able to learn and execute when I was in the ring, but you know what? They love it just the same. So,
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind trying to go to the top rope and do a splash on you.
no.
Oh no, I'm a choir boy, and my voice is my money. I know damn good well I don't belong in the ring.
I don't belong in the ring either, though. But I might not pass on that opportunity. It'll look horrible. My fat ass jumping off that rope look horrible.
Well, see,
but man, everybody was tuning in for it.
Hold on, but let me say this real quick. TJ, while you on here, while you in the chat, let me say from me to you, I can't say it enough, but thank you. Thank you for what you've done for me, and thank you for what you continue to do for me. I appreciate it. Believe me, it doesn't go unnoticed.
Cool. Now,
go ahead, guys.
All right, so now we're going to move on to the tapped out from our shows for the week. Marcus and he had internet issues, so he won't be able to do any. Hey, Bobby, you want to do a tap out from NXT while you're free?
I don't have one for NXT.
Okay,
I can
that's
tell you
cool.
what I can tell you what I got to tap out on though. It's a person's name. His name is Dave Meltzer.
No,
That'll come next
let's
week.
say let's say that for next week.
That's what I said. That'll come next week. That's coming next
Let's say
week.
that for next week. That ain't a tap out moment. That's gonna be tap out like
Show. That's a tap
Yeah.
out show, is what that is.
No, that's gonna be a grind my gears.
Well, yeah. Yeah, we haven't done one of those in a long time. So yeah, that does work.
Yeah, next week gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
For any just so people know when you guys tune in next week, what a sneak peek. Dave Meltzer had the audacity to say that the Young Bucks are the best at carrying tag teams to good matches over the last 20 years. I can only imagine what Bobby's got to say about it because I'm not a Young Bucks hater. I don't really hate them, but gee, the blasphemy that came out that motherfucker's mouth. They're not even the best team to do it on their own fucking show. But that's what he's gonna grind his gears on next week.
There's a conversation to be had here. And I am not the biggest Young Bucks hater in the world. I don't like them or their attitude. But yeah, Dave Meltzer said something extraordinarily stupid and it needs to be addressed.
That's the moment somebody should have drug tested his monkey ass.
No, he needs to be go to rehab for that one.
Yeah.
Not drug test.
Yeah.
Oh,
When I read that, that's when I realized cocaine's a powerful drug.
well, I know that. The question is, where did he ingest it?
No, I'm just wondering who's in the front. Is Matt in the front and Nick in the back, or do they switch?
I think they switched. I think they took turns.
Thank you for joining us on FTW Future Focus.
Oh,
We're on the board for old school.
it's kind
Hey,
of
hold on.
nice. It's kind of nice, though. Our first thank you for joining us was Marcus.
I figured that I'll have one for 2024.
Okay.
Hey, hold on. Jeff Gerhart, welcome to the chat. Thank you for coming in. And TJ Powers, you're saying stuff that I'm gonna say next week. Let me just go ahead and just tune in next week because you already read my mind, TJ.
All right, my tapped out. It wasn't a bad moment, but it just irritated me. Drew McIntyre whining, bitching, moaning, and complaining that he didn't win again. I'm so fucking over Drew McIntyre. I really am. I mean, I'm at the TNA just had a good weekend. Just go there. Go there. They got Dolph now. They got Zaya Brookside. I know a lot of people don't know who she is, but she was in NXT UK, and I really liked her a lot. She's a second generation wrestler, and she just played with Impact. She made her debut over the weekend.
Oh, dog.
Dana Brooke, she's like the Ash, and she got some ridiculous ass fucking name. But Impact is trying to do some stuff though. So, Drew, go there. I'm sick of you whining bits in the morning. You're not going to win a big one. If you ain't done it by now, you ain't going to do it. You're my tapped out.
Okay, my tap out is kind of like a chocolate milkshake that somebody hawks a loogie in. It started out as a great thing, and then it turned to garbage because of outside influences. The ending of the match between Sammy Guevara and Ricky Starks. Great match. They lost the rhythm a little bit, but they ended it, and it was a really decent, fast-paced thing. But then at the end, when Jericho made the save, and they had to keep the music
Yeah.
playing because the audience wanted to screw with
Mhm.
him over the recent controversies.
Yeah.
Not only was that awkward to an otherwise great match, but it's another example of backstage crap interfering with the product, and that drove me nuts, especially after I went back and read the descriptions of people chanting NDA, NDA after the thing, and basically just why they had to keep playing the music. And no, guilty or innocent, I don't want Jericho's crap to interfere with the overall product, especially after a match that good. So, that was my tap out.
What they knew, and in all honesty, though, they knew the Jericho crap was going to influence the match. Just how they started it, like they didn't have Jericho, they didn't do the entrances and everything. They just started fighting in the parking lot. Like they, I'm with you, Rob. Like until proven guilty, but I'm at the point though. I'm not saying fire him because we don't know for sure if he's guilty or not. But you need to pull his monkey ass off TV right now, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, they should pull him until at least they
Until
figure out how
we
they're
know
going to
what
approach
happened.
it.
Until we
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
what's what.
Yeah,
Yeah.
until somebody does an investigation and has
Yeah.
some actual concrete.
Mhm.
Because
Okay,
it is affecting TV now, and it's not, and it's affecting them in a negative way. And AEW is not in a position for this shit. With all the other shit that
AEW
happened.
doesn't need this. No,
No.
absolutely not. But, okay, there was an incident on Raw that I found out about too that kind of piggybacks onto this. It was the idiot out in the audience that had the Kimmel's on the list sign. And then it was confiscated during the show by WWE because they didn't want to have that on the screen, which I understand. But at the same time, I don't know what it is about wrestling fans wanting to bleed backstage and unrelated issues into wrestling programming, but it's starting to rub my ass the wrong way. It's starting to bristle, and it's really irritating me, all of it.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, guys. Now, before we move on to old school, I gotta say this though, as we're about to kick off the playoffs.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say something that I said this to somebody yesterday, and they were shocked to hear me say this. Not wrestling related. Throw that out there. I am so sick of hearing about these boys and them boys, and how about them Cowboys and all that fucking bullshit. I'm gonna say two words that's gonna make you sick to my stomach. Go Packers.
Wow.
As much as I despise the Packers, to see the Cowboys fall from this grace I mean, they just think they the fucking shit. If you lose to a shitty team like the Green Bay Packers, that's only there because they play in a shitty division and they fucking suck. And if you suck that bad, you lose to a team that sucks. That's how bad you suck.
Wow.
Probably suck more than my second wife did. Unfortunately, I didn't get none of that shit.
I don't know if that merits a thank you for joining us or not, but we'll do it. Thank you for joining us on FTW Future Focus.
It might deserve it, but it's facts, Rob. If I had as much sex as she did, we might still be married.
Thank you for joining us on FTW Future Focus. Look, I understand that you have a natural hatred for the Packers because of where you grew up.
Five them motherfuckers.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I even with the Cowboys, I can't root for the Packers. I can't do it.
Well, okay. Well,
Can't do
no, we've got some space here on Old School today. So, what is so terrible about the Cowboys?
They're nauseating fucking fans. This like they feel they're the most entitled goddamn team in the NFL. They're remotely good, and we the boys. We the boys. How about them Cowboys? We beat up all these bad teams, and we going to the Super Bowl. Fuck you, Cowboys.
Wow, I thought that kind of vitriol was only reserved for the New England Patriots.
No, the Cowboys are way worse.
Wow.
They are worse because here's the sad part about it: because they act like they won 6 championships and have a dynasty over the last 20 years. No, they win a couple games and they just fucking entitled. They just think they did shit. They're America's team, and I'm just so sick of hearing about them.
Oh, okay. So, Patriots mentality, but not the record to back it up, is what you're
Correct.
Yeah.
saying. Okay. All
No,
right.
if they had 6 championships over the last 20 years, my rant wouldn't be as bad because I was like, as much as I hate them, kind of got to give them a little respect on that shit. They ain't won shit since 1990 motherfucking 3.
Well, you know, I
The last time I won, I was fresh out of high school.
Okay. Well, that does make sense. You can't really brag about something that's that distant.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, but we're gonna jump into old school now.
Yes.
And I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen Iron Claw yet. I don't know if Mark has seen it yet or not.
I have.
I know you have, and I am going to see it soon. But the Erichs was in my head when I was doing this agenda. I'll be honest with you, like I haven't seen the movie yet though. But man, I was thinking about the old days, like Ric Flair and the Road Warriors got me into wrestling on WCCW Saturday Night TBS 505. That got me into wrestling. But I love world class championship wrestling. I love the feud with the Erichs and Freebirds, and we're gonna touch on some of this shit. The first thing we're gonna touch on though is there's a lot of great families in professional wrestling. I know some people are gonna say it's gonna be a little blasphemy to even ask this question with some of the families that's out there, but my motivation for this is not only that they just did a movie on them, but my love for the WCCW as well. And families are a big part of wrestling today. Are the Erichs the best family in professional wrestling?
No.
All right, Marcus, we'll kick it off with you.
I mean, no, because simply the Erichs, except for the boys, who is it? His Kevin's 2 sons, the Erichs are non-existent, and as far as I'm concerned, that generation is over. The best family is wrestling is the Noahs. I mean, if I'm saying that right, I mean, you got The Rock, you got Roman.
I call them the Samoans.
And they keep generating them. Their family, their bloodline is going to continue. You got Jacob Fatu, who I'm just surprised he's not on the maker for promotion. You got a couple other guys at MLW. I mean, just that Samoan dynasty is just going to continue. I mean, when you look at all the other families, the Erichs, the Rhodes, the Funks, all even the Ortons. I mean, they're all. This is pretty much it. After this current run, I mean, we're not likely to see anybody else from that bloodline. But the Noahs are just going to continue chalking out, wrestlers. So to me, that's it's not even close. They're the best family in wrestling history. Period.
Okay.
I almost kind of felt like maybe I should have asked this question and excluded the Samoans out of it. Because I'll put the Erichs against some of the other families. But yeah, you broke, yeah.
Bobby, are you free for an answer?
Yeah, I'm ready to give an answer real quick.
Okay.
The Noahs, yeah, I gotta give them their props. They, I mean, God, I mean, they ain't playing PlayStation. They having kids all over the place. I mean, but I don't know if you can really. I want to say the Rhodes though, and this is why. It's the same thing as when we were doing the rankings last for the top 25, and I said Rhea Ripley was second, and Naomi was first. And that's because Naomi did her second part of her bid without the WWE machine. The Rhodes family has kind of done that themselves, and I know has kind of been on that WWE machine. You know what I'm saying? So they've done it without that marketing thing than most people. But I got to get this.
Okay.
All right, this question is a little bit harder for me because the Von Erichs were they weren't the quintessential family of professional wrestling, but their whole gimmick was family. If they weren't together, then they wouldn't necessarily be as over as they were. They got over together as a family before they were single stars, Kerry in particular. I have watched the movie, and I can unequivocally say that it is the best movie about professional wrestling ever made. And that includes the wrestler and a few other things. But as far as calling them the greatest family in wrestling, no, you can't do that. But as far as like being over as a family, like the most recognizable wrestlers as a family in wrestling, then yeah, the Von Erichs qualify for that. It's just that their run was way too short in that regard because of the tragedy that happened.
All right. I agree with both of you guys. I mean, and as I get my answer is going to be really comparing Von Erichs to everybody else other than the Bloodline, because the Bloodline is the first family of wrestling. Like, Jesus Christ, and they're like Marcus said, they're still kicking them out.
Yeah.
The difference with the Bloodline, though, and some of the other wrestling families is we didn't realize that Bloodline family lineage until later. Like, we found out later, like, all these guys were related. As a family, we know from day one that Von Erichs was a family.
Mm-hmm.
When I started watching wrestling back in the 80s, for me, that was the only family in wrestling. Like, the Von Erich family was it. That's what drew me to it. Unfortunately, I think they could have been a hell of a lot bigger, a hell of a lot better if it wasn't for so much tragedy. But I would definitely have them in my top 3 families. No, they can't be number 1. They can't be. But honestly, I would put them ahead of the Rhodes. I know Bobby picked the Rhodes as like his top family, but I think Dusty's impact really carries the Rhodes. But the Von Erichs as a family had a huge impact on the business back in the old school days.
Mm-hmm.
Like WCCW, the Von Erichs, they were the shit.
Yeah, I mean it's a dynamic between whether you're over as a family or whether you get the family over as individuals. That's really the comparison.
And they were really over as a family.
All right, Marcus.
The individual that, in my opinion, the individual that stood up for the Von Erichs died way too soon. That was David Von Erich. He's by far the best Von Erich. Like, he was the Ric Flair of the Von Erichs.
Yeah, Marcus, what were you saying?
Here's my thing with the Von Erichs. I mean, they were over, and we talk about the WWE machine, but damn, who was booking WCW? The old man, Fritz. So I mean, you talk about having a hellified advantage. I mean, if my old man was booking, hell, I would have been over too. So I mean, come on, now. You got to kind of put a little asterisk by that. I mean let's be honest. I mean,
wait. I don't put the booking asterisk on it though, because I kind of look at it like how it was presented to us. That's Bobby that do the booking asterisk.
But come on now. I mean, there was no way they weren't gonna get over. I mean, Mike got over it. He looked like shit. Mike got over it. Come on, man. Come on now. That's all booking.
Undefeated and he sucked.
That's all booking. Come on now.
Okay, Marcus, you've got a point, but I think that nepotism is like a problem in wrestling overall. I mean, look at Memphis. Memphis was the only place that Jerry Lawler was a superstar until he went to WWF, and only after he started doing commentary. And I mean, and look at the guys that went through that organization that were Jerry Jarrett's friends that got over. I mean, it's not just a family problem or a world class problem. It's an industry wide problem.
That is industry wide though. I mean, look at AWA though. They pushed the fuck out of Greg Gagne.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from the Von Erichs, but I'm just saying you got to kind of put that in the argument. You talk about the best families. I mean, that is, you know, that is an advantage they had, was that old man being the booker.
I won't deny that though, but the shit worked.
Yeah, I mean,
the Von Erichs got more pussy than I did in the '80s going to the ring.
I mean, yeah, well, yeah, no shit, it worked. You were booked to win. Yeah, it should have worked. Yeah,
it doesn't always work.
It
though.
doesn't
It did
always
not
work
work with Greg
though.
Gagne.
The way they booked Greg Gagne AWA, he should have been there, Ric Flair, and it did not work though. And they
okay. You comparing a bean pole with big muscle bound, steroid up Terry Von Erich. I mean, long wavy hair. Come on now.
Yeah.
That's a bad comparison. Come on.
Well,
now.
Greg Gagne did have the charisma of sandpaper. So
and his chest was like a wall, just flat. No muscle development at all. Come on, that's a horrible comparison.
But he had the machine behind him.
Come on now.
Okay.
Come on. This is it's a whole nother topic for another day. Come on. That's terrible. That's bad.
Okay, but we agree the Von Erichs were hella over. They just weren't the defining family of professional.
They weren't the defining family at all.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Motherfuckers. Oh, Detroit just scored. I'm sorry. Oh, this game. I'm pulling for the Rams too.
Okay.
Fuck the Lions. All right. We're going to stick with WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling. Like I said, I love this shit back in in my opinion, World Class and UWF was the shit back in the day.
Yes.
But as we and it's kind of funny because Marcus touched on the booking. No, Papa Fritz is in charge. Push the Von Erichs out the ass and everything. They have the machine behind them. But my question to the panel is this: how important was the Freebirds to the success of WCCW? Because the family got pushed out the ass, but the fabulous Freebirds had a huge ass fucking footprint on the success of that company back in the day. Mark, you started before, so this time we're gonna have Rob start. Unless Bobby's not free. Rob start.
Okay. The fabulous Freebirds were the perfect foil for the Von Erich brother. And I covered this in my Iron Claw review. I touched on it a little bit, but here's the extended version. The Von Erichs were basically booked to be the mirror opposite of the Freebirds. Michael, Terry, and Buddy Jack were just the mirror opposites of the wholesome image of the Von Erich family, which we know was not exactly the truth, but in the ring, that's how it was.
Yeah, that was their parents.
Yeah, and that became an issue for me in the movie because they really glossed over that part of the Von Erichs' lives. They barely touched it, but I digress. The Freebirds were just the polar opposites. They were kind of like the doppelganger of the Von Erichs, like Paul Orndorff was to Hulk Hogan. That's what made that feud work.
Interesting you picked Paul Orndorff.
What's that?
Interesting you picked Paul Orndorff.
Well, it's because Mr. Wonderful was a picture of what Hollywood Hogan would later become. There was a lot of Mr. Wonderful in Hollywood.
Well, the reason I say it's interesting you picked on them because in my head though, I looked at the Freebirds as the Roddy Piper to Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
If you're talking like Batman versus Joker, we're talking about like the opposite flip of the same coin. If you're talking about Doppelganger, you're talking about the shadowy reflection through the mirror. It would just take a little push to make the Von Erichs like the Freebirds, but because the crowd's behind them,
Okay,
they
I
don't.
get where you're coming from now. Okay.
Yeah, but as far as the Freebirds being, they were monstrously important to getting world class over. But there were other people in the Von Erichs Rogues Gallery that could have done that. Gary Hart was there with his stable, and he had Gang and Bruiser Brody and various other people, gentlemen. Chris Adams. Yeah, they also Skandor Akbar later on for Eric Embry. If the boys had remained the way that they had been and had been popular and none of the tragedy had happened, Skandor Akbar could have been that foil. But as it turns out, the Freebirds had the perfect timing and the perfect image to clash, and that's what made that feud great. They were vastly important. Does that mean they were irreplaceable? No, but they were very important to getting the Von Erichs over and getting themselves over. The Freebirds were legends in Texas.
Marcus.
I agree with Rob to a certain extent in that I think the Freebirds were just as important, or maybe even a little bit more important than the Von Erichs in Texas, because when you look at the top baby faces, at least during my time, or like what is the movie, what is the comic books, what is the movies, the biggest baby faces / good guys, you got to have a bad guy / heel, on your level. Okay. And the Von, for the Von Erichs, as much as they were over, they had to have someone that drew just as much heat as they did with their cheers. And that was the Freebirds. I don't think that I think in Texas, the only two that got almost as much heat, close to what the Freebirds got, was Chris Adams and Gino Hernandez. I don't think Akbar's crew, I don't think Gary Hart's crew got nearly as much as what the Freebirds got. And I don't think without the Freebirds, the Von Erichs would have ever have been as over as they would against those other teams. Because I watched that whole era, and just to me, it wasn't just the same. When they feuded with Gary Hart's and Akbar's crew, it just wasn't the same to me. It wasn't as good. Akbar's and Gary Hart's promos wasn't as good as Michael Hayes, and I just wasn't as interested until they started feuding with Adams and Hernandez, which was tragic that it ended as soon as it did, because I thought there was a lot more life in that feud that could have been that. I think that could have rivaled possibly the Freebird feud. But yeah, the Freebirds were absolutely essential to how as popular as with the Violence were, and if it wasn't for the Freebirds, I don't think WCW or the Von Erichs would have been as big and as over as if they were just feuding with Gary Hart's or Akbar's crew.
All right, Bobby, you're free to chime in on like the importance of the Fabulous Freebirds to the success of WCCW.
I guess I can.
Well, that's nice of you.
I think that yeah, I know. Honestly, and this has always been my philosophy. And this sounds weird for me because I've always been on the positive side of the program. But it always takes that good heel to make a face a face.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were just talking about one earlier, to superstar TJ Powers, one of the best heels on the planet. He can work either way, but he's a better heel than he is face. It's Coma Weeder. Way better heel than face. That little short dude is an evil leprechaun. I'm sorry, that dude is a beast. You would have to see the dude in action to understand why Rob is laughing so hard. It's Coma Weeder is the biggest heel on earth, and I'm telling you, don't let the short statue fool you. The dude's crazy. But it always takes the heel to bring out that face. Because I do think faces get boring pretty easy, except if you're me, I kind of do crazy stuff too. So, but some faces do tire out easy, and you got to have continuous hate for somebody to keep cheering them on. So that heel does have to do the most work to go ahead and keep that crowd interested. So I gotta give the Freebirds a props. Not only did they do the thing of keeping them the Von Erichs interesting and WCW, WCCW interesting at the time. Didn't they do things with entrances when they were the first ones to come out with music to their entrance or something like that?
Yeah.
So they actually revolutionized the actual foundation of the programs today when it comes to professional wrestling. So if you do that, then not only are they important to WCCW as a whole, but they're one of the biggest importance to pro wrestling as a whole.
I should have went before Bobby.
I am the mastermind.
All right. Well, Bobby touched on one of my points. Like, the Freebirds changed the industry. Like, ring entrance. They started that shit. When you have a three-man faction that's tag team champs, Freebird rules.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, that's still in effect. Skanda, Akbar, Gary, and Gary Hart, without a doubt, huge as far as success for WCW in a managerial role. But I don't think they had the same impact that the actual wrestlers would have, that faction, though. Marcus brought up Chris Adams and Gino Hernandez. That's about the only personalities that I could see that could have done what the Freebirds did. Like, the guys that the other factions had, I didn't see it with them as far as like that impact goes. Like, if you look at what the Freebirds did in WCCW, and I'm not comparing like side by side, straight up, but just for impact reasons for a faction, the Freebirds was the NWO of WCCW.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were that bad guy faction to get your baby face over, but they were the cool bad guys in the process too.
Well, my point was that World Class's Rogues Gallery was so deep because everybody went after the Von Erichs. It was like
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah, it was like Batman's Rogues Gallery. He's got like 36 bad guys that come after. It was basically the same principle. The face in peril idea of the Von Erichs fighting tooth and nail for their territory is what I was saying.
But the thing is, though, the way the Freebirds were as performers, and they were a unique group in itself because you had your powerhouse Terry Gordy, you had your technical Buddy Roberts, you had your mouthpiece Michael Hayes. They could all pretty much go in the ring. Not the greatest in the ring, but good enough with their personalities. But the personalities they brought to it, I think they separated them from the others, though. The only ones that I would say was on their level for the total package was Chris Adams and Gino Hernandez.
All right.
For being
that's because nobody
Gino
else.
Hernandez was going to be a GOAT. Like, that hurt my heart.
Yeah.
When we lost Gino Hernandez. He was going to be the GOAT. Like, he was there.
And that is something else that's worthy of pointing out because World Class had a lot more tragedies going on than just the death of the Von Erich boys. Those are the ones that are most highlighted. Gino Hernandez died of suspicious circumstances. Later on, Chris Adams died.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, there were just a lot of things about World Class, especially toward the end of its existence when it transitioned to the USWA and everything moved up to Memphis. It basically killed off Texas wrestling. And one guy who never gets enough credit in World Class is Eric Embry. He was the last hero of Texas wrestling, and his career ended up like doing he basically had to retire like a few years after World Class became USWA, because as over as he got in Memphis, he just couldn't like get to Lawler levels of over, and that's where he was in Texas. He became Lawler for World Class.
But this can translate to in my opinion, Eric Embry is just too small.
Yeah.
Hey, Go ahead, Marcus.
Now I was saying, I was never a big fan of his. You know, it's like even when he did the woo, that didn't even sound good. I mean, Eric Embry just never overly impressed me.
All right, check this out. But check this out. This is the thing. Whenever you have to have rules about somebody special, that's when you know they're great. Jordan rules. Think about it. So now you got the Freebird rules.
Yeah.
There's never been LeBron rules. All I gotta say.
And the Freebird rules started back in that was like in the 80s, and they still bring it up.
Yeah. Well, so okay. The Freebirds became more of a success than the Von Erichs themselves. They created the perfect feud in Texas, but the problem is that the Von Erichs were mostly homesteaded.
Yeah.
Aside from Kerry, who went all over the world, the rest of the brothers either died before they could become major international stars, or they decided they just didn't want to leave Texas.
Well, David was in the process of becoming an international star when he died. He actually died over in Japan.
Right.
Yeah.
He was successful in Japan and in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Freebird
David was by far and a lot of people don't know David because he died so early. He was by far the best wrestler in the family. Not even close.
Yeah, he was the best promo and he was the best technical wrestler.
He was their Ric Flair.
He was the only good promo.
Yeah, see, the only thing that David was missing was the physique. The brothers had all of the elements together, but they didn't have all of the elements alone. And that's because the Freebirds went everywhere.
The crazy thing is, though, like, I look at Kevin, the last surviving member. I never looked at Kevin as, like, excelling in any category.
Well, I thought Kevin was the second best wrestler in the front of the boys that I thought. And
well, yeah, that's because Kerry sucked.
Right. It's just that his promos were horrible, just terrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
His promos. But before you go, Rob, the two things I could say about Kevin Von Erich: number one, his promos, and number two, he been barefoot.
Yeah, I can't stand barefoot wrestling. I really can't. All I can think about is those nasty ass feet slapping people in the face, and no, just drop kick to the face with both nasty, dirty feet in your mouth. No, that just it bothered me. Even wrestlers that it makes sense for, like Kamala, never could stand the barefoot thing. But Kevin was the cruiserweight. He was the high flyer.
Yeah.
Kerry was the muscle, and David was the mouthpiece. And when you put those three together, and when you put those three together against Roberts, Gordy, and Hayes, you had that equal coagulation there. But if the Von Erichs had left their territory more often in the early days and worked like Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas, they might have gotten over as much as the Freebirds and maybe as heels too, depending on who you put them with.
Hey, Rob, let me ask you a question. If
Yeah.
Kevin was the cruiserweight, then what was Mike and Chris?
Mike and Chris were replacements for David. That's about all they were.
I'm saying for weight. If
Well,
you
they
consider
were.
Kevin a cruiserweight, then goddamn, what was Mike and Chris then?
Well, they were like featherweights in comparison.
Yeah.
They were they
Yeah.
had their own smaller division. That's why they didn't get over in the 80s, because cruisers didn't start getting over till the 90s.
Yeah, because I wouldn't consider Kevin a cruiserweight. That's why I asked you that. Because I wouldn't.
No, I get what he's saying with Kevin being a cruiserweight for that 3 though. Like you look at the entire family. When I look at the family, I kind of look at like David, Kerry, and Kevin.
Okay,
And Kevin is like more the cruiserweight of the 3.
Yeah, maybe I'm being a little disingenuous, because Kevin was still in the lower 200s, like 220, 225, but he was really cut like Rick Rude was.
Yeah.
So Rude wasn't big, but he was.
And he was doing more of the high flying stuff than like the other 2 were. Like he was one coming off the ropes and doing more of that stuff.
Right, because Rude was big, but he was lean in the abdominals, and Kevin Von Erich was the same way. It's just that he flew and Rude didn't.
Yeah. Okay.
Speaking of Rick Rude, he was a big part of what World Class became.
Him
He was their first world champion.
Yeah.
Yes. Him and Percy Pringle III. And I don't necessarily agree with everybody that you said that could like fill that role, but Rick Rude had a personality that like Rick Rude could have filled Michael P.S. Hayes' role.
Yeah.
And he had that mouthpiece person Pringle III.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on to our next subject, I'm going to go back to football. Apparently, my TV switched to like an old game, so when I was pissed about the Detroit Lions scoring, that game's not going on yet. It's from the old game. Green Bay's up 7-0 on Detroit on Dallas right now.
Yes, beat Dallas.
Yes.
Yeah, we had that discussion before. Me being the football novice, I was asking why the Cowboys. I was asking why the Cowboys were more hated than the Patriots. Bobby had to mute. Damn.
All right, so we're gonna move on to like our old school subject that I call pick a side.
Mm-hmm.
I hope Bobby can join in on this because like me and Marcus, we're like diehard fans. But when we saw this stuff and everything, though, Rob, you in the industry as a commentator, Bobby's in it as a wrestler, though. So I'm gonna save you guys for second to last and last. Me and Marcus are gonna go first on it.
Okay.
Marcus gonna be first, then me.
Got it.
But our pick a side is, there's a fine line between whether it's real or scripted. Yeah, and you know something's going good when you can't tell if it's scripted or not. Like if there's that line between whether like, hey, that was planned, or this was like, hey, they had to do that shit. Kind of like the Montreal screw job. Like, but this one is, and I'm gonna set this up for you. It's the Bass at the Beach. Bass at the Beach 2000, where Jeff Jarrett laid down for Hogan to win the title. They stripped Hogan for the title, and then they had a match between Booker T and Jeff Jarrett. So for those who don't know the history of this, which if you watch this, you should know the history of it. But if you don't know the history of it, Hogan, the piece of shit bastard fuck little dickless motherfucker that he is, decided to call in his creative control because he didn't want to drop the title at Bash at the Beach. Because that didn't work for me, brother. Fucking bitch. Sorry, Rob. I know that's your boy.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah.
Gotta grind my gears a little bit there.
No, keep going. You're doing fine.
So basically what happened was Vince Russo is amazing because he was my favorite in this whole thing. He's a piece of shit himself. But Vince Russo had Jeff Jarrett basically lay down for him to give him the title, get him the fuck out of there. And it was like, hey, that piece of shit's out of here. We're moving forward. Set up the match between Jeff Jarrett and Booker T, which Booker T became the world heavyweight champion. Now the rumor is that was supposed to happen at work, and Hogan was supposed to have to come back later on and do a program with them. That was a rumor. Was it a work, or was this shit real and Hogan was just giving us some BS?
Can I answer that
Mark,
first?
okay, yeah, you go first since you're free. I did say when we started off, I want to hear you and Roz's opinion on this because you guys are more in the business than two of us.
Hulk Hogan was lying more than they say the Young Bucks is a tag team that's best in 20 years. Hulk Hogan was telling some. And that man should be called Dr. Seuss because he tells good stories. I'm telling you. I don't know why anybody would believe they would put Hulk Hogan and Booker T the way he feels in the same ring. Why would you? They did it once, and Booker T slipped. We don't need Hulk Hogan slipping. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. Hulk Hogan was barely wrestling people out of a wet paper bag then, let alone trying to. No, I don't believe it at all. It's a false story. He's trying to make himself look important again. He's trying to make himself look like he's bigger than what he is again. He's trying to sit up here and make himself look like he was some type of shot caller again, which he's not. He's. I can keep going for this for about a half hour, and we don't have that much time in the show. So let's just say, just like the dolphins say when they come out from the water,
What the? Okay, then.
All right, so Bobby thought everything was real there. Cool.
Okay.
Marcus, what do you say?
Well, I'm gonna keep mine real short so we can spend some more time on some more other stuff. I think it was real, plain and simple, because if you look at Vince Russo, Eric Bischoff, and Hulk Hogan, I don't believe that any one of them would have been creative enough to come up with this storyline. That's why I believe it was totally real. Though none of them had a creative bone in their body. I mean, me and Tony talked about who was the worst Booker of all time, Bischoff or Tony Khan, and we were talking about it. I kept going. I want to say Tony Khan, but when I think about Bischoff, I keep going back and forth. So none of them would have been creative enough to come up with this, elaborate plan. So I think it was absolutely real, and they just ran with it.
you forgot about shit stain though.
Russo, yeah, Russo, also just as bad, yes. Yeah,
I
none
mean,
of them
Russo,
creative enough to come up.
Russo's terrible. I wouldn't let him.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even let him book my grade school play.
yeah, yeah. But see, I consider Russo more of a writer than a booker, personally. I always thought he was more on the writing end than the booking part.
He was booking too. He was trying to slip that in there. He just didn't want the title to get shit.
No, in WWF, he was writing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't count that. I
Well,
count
if
the
you
other
want to
shit.
call that writing, yeah.
right. Yeah,
That wasn't even writing. That was some doodles that he was doing and
yeah.
fucking up the kindergarten doodles like a dumbass.
He
Fuck
was
Russo
trying to
too.
be. He
Wait,
was trying to be Jerry Springer.
what?
Oh,
What?
yeah.
He
How,
couldn't spring on. Wait a minute, the man didn't have any power to spring on his own, let alone trying to be Jerry Springer.
And that's why it didn't work.
Of course, that's what she said.
Wait.
Thank you for joining us on FTW Future Focus. Oh, dear God.
Well, here's what I'm saying about Vince Russo writing WWF. The wrestlers had creative control back then. I mean, the wrestlers was like more, not necessarily control, but the wrestlers were more free to do their thing. So I really think that Russo had no really footprint whatsoever on what he did in WWF. It was really the wrestlers and Vince McMahon that masterminded the Attitude Era. Vince Russo just had to be like the stooge that had the job that told WCW it was all him, and they realized they just brought a fucking bridge off this motherfucker that didn't exist.
That's true. You got a point. I give you that.
For this being real or scripted, I really think it was real. And you guys brought up the same thing, like, they're not that creative. Eric Bischoff in his heyday struck gold on stealing an idea from New Japan.
Mm.
He got lucky. and he fucked it up because when the shit went soft, because everybody's like, I can't believe it just sucks that WCW sold out. That product that WCW was putting out for the last year, year and a half, 2 years before they sold out was fucking horrible.
Yep.
Horrible. WCW 1999 2000 was not
Garbage.
good at all.
Garbage.
Yep.
You say garbage? Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing good about that was Booker T and Lance Storm during that time.
Yeah.
Yep.
All their little repos, Judy Bagwell on a pole, all this fucking bullshit they were doing was garbage. I know a lot of people are mad that Vince. I know a lot of people are mad, including you, Rod, that Vince brought it, but they put us out of our misery because shit was trash.
Garbage.
They put trash on Monday night.
Okay, let me put a little bit of perspective on this because
Garbage.
I agree that 99 2000 WCW was absolutely unwatchable diarrhea. It was terrible.
Garbage.
Yes, the hot garbage set on fire with toxic waste and a lighter. All true. The problem, I'm not mad that Vince McMahon bought WCW. I'm mad that Vince McMahon did not use WCW as a way to counterbalance his own promotion and keep the Monday Night Wars going.
I agree with you on that. I definitely agree with you on that.
Because we all tend to forget that SmackDown was originally supposed to be a WCW program. It was going to be the Nitro revitalization.
Right.
And because they dropped the ball on that when they finally got the monopoly, it escalated the crap factor for the next 20 years. That's what upsets me.
I'm not sure how much of that was. Wait, and when I say this, I'm going to be honest with you. When I place blame on why it failed, I'm gonna do 66% Vince, 30%, 33% the wrestlers in WCW. Because we don't really know what they had in mind when they brought WCW, but I do firmly believe what they had in mind could not happen because all those guys had guaranteed contracts where they could sit at home and not do shit and make money versus going to work for WCW. I mean WWE.
And guys,
the invasion angle would have been great.
Yeah.
With the actual stars.
But
when you have your B roster, the guys who don't have this guaranteed money, that shit hit the iceberg like Titanic. That motherfucker was on the bottom of the ocean in like 3 hours.
They could have built it up, but they
No, they definitely could have done more work with it. They definitely could.
Well,
I was trying to get business. You know, I'm not getting Nash, Hawk, Sting, Luger. I'm not getting all these big stars I just paid for, and I'm paying them.
Marcus, what were you saying?
I remember reading back then that Vince's original plan was to do another WCW show, but the network wouldn't let him because they're like, we're not paying you for WCW, we're paying you for WWE. And because the network's higher ups weren't wrestling people, they didn't realize that it's all WWE anyway. They thought it was a whole, but the way Vince wanted to present it, it was going to be like another WCW show. And they're going to have, of course, for the big shows, cross promotions, but the network wouldn't let them do it, though.
Well, granted, his hands might have been tied, but there were creative ways to get around that. They could have waited until the guaranteed contracts of the people everyone wanted to see had worked out, and then because there was no way that guys like Hogan, Nash, Sting, and Goldberg were going to give up multi-millions of dollars just to play in Vince's pond.
But here's the problem though, because we did get those guys where their contract was up, except for Sting. But by that time, the hype was dead.
All right, check this out.
He brought the NWO back in like 2002, I think it was, like 2 years later.
Yeah.
But it was dead at that point.
Check this out. This is what I think not enough people touch on when it comes to the failure of WCW once Vince McMahon bought it. You have to also understand and look at it from a backstage point of view. The WCW wrestlers were not trained just like the WCW wrestlers. So their styles are going to collide and not match. That's why it was
Okay.
important to have that separate show because they needed time to really be in something and then be fed WWE wrestlers so they could get used to it and blend in. They never had that opportunity. It was okay, you got two matches, you suck, you're gone. You know, Booker T made the transition quickly, but it's Booker T. You see what I'm saying?
Booker T about the
Sting
only
could have,
one.
Sting would have made that transition, but it's Sting. They don't know how to handle a Dean Malenko or something like that. You know what I mean? Because they're idiots sometimes. So,
They dropped the ball with Diamond Dallas Page.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, when you look at the style of wrestling, when they bought WCW, they didn't realize that they weren't going to be able to incorporate some of that talent because they didn't give it enough time to incorporate into flesh over. They just wanted to do a rush job and instant gratification, which I blame WWE for.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You just can't do that. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you are Vince McMahon paying the intern $12 million. You just can't do that to be successful in business. And that's where they screwed up big time. They should have let them have time to blend in. SmackDown should have stayed a WCW show. WWE Raw should have been a WWE show. And then all of a sudden you just feed them during the house shows every once in a while. Okay, this guy needs to face him so he can get used to the style. And then they do matches like that. So okay, now all of the roster is familiar with the WWE style. They've learned, they've done what they were supposed to. All right, now let's put it together. They jumped the gun too quick.
Now, as far as the actual controversy goes with Bash at the Beach, it depends on which liar you're willing to believe first. Hogan is notorious for lying. Vince Russo is notorious for it. Eric Bischoff, of course, is going to back Hogan's versions of events because they're friends. So,
Which kills his credibility.
Exactly. So, if I'm a betting man, I'm saying that the original plan was what Hogan said it was, but then Russo went out there and did his shoot, and they had to change things on the fly because of that. And I think that Russo took the blame for the higher ups at WCW wanting to get around Hogan's creative control.
So you think it's a little Montreal screw job in this?
Yes. Yeah, I think that Hogan had his own agenda, obviously, and because of the way his contract was set, that WCW were forced to go in that direction, but then Vince Russo forced his end of the deal, and WCW were forced to go in his direction because that went out on the air live. And when Hogan filed the lawsuit over it, then WCW completely went against everything that he was going to go for, and he never came back. That's the way I think that it played out. So it started out as a work, but then it turned into a shoot because of Vince Russo.
Because part of me, and I despise Hogan, and I don't trust Hogan whatsoever, though.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt the same way. I really kind of felt like Hogan kind of went into it thinking it was going to go one way.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was told one thing, and then Vince Russo flipped the script on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's what they presented on Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah.
That's why they presented it. That's what happened.
Yeah, I tend to believe what the producers
Of
of
course
that
they did a
show
Dark Side of the
say.
Ring on this. I gotta check that out.
Yeah.
No, it's a great
Oh yeah.
episode.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
The reason that I believe the researchers for Dark Side of the Ring is because they're looking at it from the outside.
Yeah.
Everyone that was involved in that particular incident had their own reason for lying. Obviously, Hogan wanted to make himself to be the babyface in that situation. Russo wanted to make himself out to be the good guy. Bischoff is backing Hogan, and some of the other WCW people that wanted Hogan gone were going to back Russo. So the producers of that show actually did the research, and so I believe them before any of the actual players.
Yeah, I got to find it on YouTube and check it out because I am curious on that though. So I'm happy they did it. I just gotta check it out.
Yeah, because they had Bischoff and Russo on it, so it was really hearing their perspectives.
All right, cool.
Yeah, it's just a situation where everybody was full of shit and fighting over the toilet.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to when you're dealing with like these group of guys between Vince Russo, Hulk Hogan, and Eric Bischoff.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about a Mount Rushmore of bullshitters.
Man, tell me about it.
That's real crappy.
All right, so we're gonna move on to our next subject for old school, and we got plenty of time. So if you guys have a couple of different picks, you can name a couple of different ones. We're not gonna limit this to one.
All right.
Stars that never became stars, and when we say never became stars, never became the men, never had like those multiple title reigns. So we're gonna talk about those wrestlers that never won the world title, or maybe only got one title run and wasn't good. Who were these stars that never became stars that should have been stars, in our opinion? Well, Bobby's free, so let's let him kick this off.
Ooh. I'm trying to remember if he had the title.
Throw his name out there. We'll see.
Perfect.
No, Perfect was a good pick.
AWA.
Mm-hmm.
You never had WWF.
Yeah. One time, though, in AWA.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but
that was
I said one or less.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That gimmick could have ran for 2 or 3 years. And him being a heel will make it even more feasible because, he's saying that he's perfect, but he's doing all this stuff to cheat to stay perfect. And even though technically he is perfect, he's really not because he's cheating. But he still says he's perfect and brags on it. And Bobby Heenan could have ran away with that one. I think the biggest missed opportunity was Mr. Perfect. I mean, that dude had some skills, and he had some psychology in that ring. He could switch from a stunning pin to a submission if he wanted to. He had all types of facets in the technical ability to where overall he could have switched his roll up in that ring so you could see a different match every rip and a different way to cheat every rip so his thing could go on. So, yeah, I got to say Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect will be my choice.
All right, Marcus, who you got?
Perfect was my second choice. My first choice is Ravishing Rick Rude because if I'm not mistaken, the only world title he had was it was a brief run when WCW they was doing the NWA and the WCW title.
The NWA, there was some kind of NWA title, yeah.
Right. I know he never won the world title in WWE or WWF, whatever you want to call it at that point. I mean, the guy had everything. I mean, he had the charisma, and with Bobby Heenan being his mouthpiece, I mean, I would have much rather seen him than being the world champion than being the what you say, Rob, the doppelganger for the Warrior at the time.
Yeah.
But we all know at the time, WWF, WWE was had to have a babyface champion, which what the Warrior was for them. So Rude was never going to get the world title at that time, but as a fan back then, I remember I was always hoping that Rude would get the title because I was a big Rick Rude fan back then, and and I even wish he would have got it in WCW at some point, but he was a guy that I thought could have even as big as a star as he was. I thought he definitely should have at least one good world title run that he didn't get.
Mm.
And before you go, Rob, and Rick Rude is still, to the best of my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, and you guys watching and I'm wrong, throw it in the comments. He's still the only man that ever appeared on Raw and Nitro on the same day.
As far as I know, that's exactly accurate.
Yep.
Nobody else could pull that off.
Yep.
But there were a lot of good things about Ravishing Rick Rude that always made him a superstar, even though he never got to be as big as he should have, and B, that were tragically cut off in 98 when he should have. Yeah, that was just sad.
So who you got, Rob? I hope you don't pick mine. I got two.
Okay, well, I've got two as well. One of them, I'm not even sure if it counts because he was the USWA World Champion very briefly, but he's a guy that I've always loved. But one pick of mine is Bam Bam Bigelow.
Nice pick.
My God, that guy could have been the man any damn where. He only got one world title in ECW, and he didn't hold on to that long enough. They put the belt back on Douglas, which pisses me off. I don't know why Paul Heyman chose to transition the title away from Bigelow so fast. Maybe it was because his contract was up or he couldn't pay him or what the hell else.
I always thought it had to be like money. I thought it had to be some kind of money.
It was probably money and he couldn't afford Bigelow, but my God, if he had become WWF champion, or if he had at least a run with Hogan at some point, he just would have been an awesome force in wrestling, but he never came out to be. The second guy I want to mention, and I have been wanting to talk about him for so damn long, Bad Brad Armstrong.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that guy.
Tremendous talent. He's a tremendous talent.
Yeah, yes, he was.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a
Except on the mic.
Yeah,
exactly. He was Kevin Von Erich on the mic.
Yeah, he was a mix between Kerry Von Erich and Wildfire Tommy Rich. He had that down-home baby face thing going. He could cut a damn good promo. He was a great athlete. And if you ever saw his work in Crockett against Tully Blanchard for the TV title, I mean, just awesome dude all the way around, and he was the top babyface of Smoky Mountain Wrestling before it went under. Just a guy who should have made it and could have made it, but was just never in the right position to do it.
Yeah.
Two good picks, and neither one was mine. And before I give my picks, sorry, Marcus, Green Bay is up 14-0 on the Cowboys in Dallas. Fuck you, Cowboys.
What quarter is it?
Oh, they were in the second quarter.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of time left. Now, my first pick, when I throw his first name out there, why he become a star, why he get a run, it's obvious. It's really obvious. But he's still my first pick because his wrestling mind and his wrestling ability, his promos, like, he was a total package. Unfortunately, he had a lot of demons that held him back. So I get why he was held back, but he still should have been a world champion. Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah.
Jake when I fell in love with the Road Warriors, when I first started watching wrestling, Jake was part of the Legion of Doom. Before he even had the snake, when he was in WCW and NWA, I was going to slither in like a snake, like slide into that DDT back then was the shit.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't like hoop holler or anything like that. His promos were so methodical. I always felt like he should have got a run. I get why he didn't. So I'm not mad he didn't get a run because with all the shit that he was doing, can't argue it. But Jake the Snake was one of my favorites.
Imagine if he had been the one to take the title off Savage in 91, 92. I mean, during the Trust Me run. Oh, if he had had the belt then, my God, he would have been a force.
And I don't know if you guys remember hearing about it because they did a dry run with Jake the Snake and Hulk Hogan at house shows.
In
And he was
86.
getting a bigger pop than Hogan.
Yeah. But
Well,
you know, Jake always.
So we can't do this because that don't work for me, brother.
Yeah, and Jake always said he wouldn't let nobody kick out of DDT. So there went Hogan right there.
Well, to be fair, Vince killed that angle. They could have made some money with it, but Vince didn't want it.
Vincent, and I get why Vincent wanted because Jake the Snake was, because Hogan was ultimate babyface, and you can't have him getting not getting as much shares as the heel opponent. I can't stand Hogan, but I get that. I get why they killed it. It just sucks. It really sucks. But my other pick, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. I don't count when Andre gave him the title.
Right.
Neither did the WWF.
Yeah.
But Ted DiBiase was a damn good wrestler. I was in love with Ted. I felt like when he went to WWE's The $1 Million Man, I was ecstatic because I loved when he was in the UWF. Like him and Dr. Steve Williams were a team. He was one of my favorite wrestlers. Had some of the best matches in UWF. When he got to WWE, yeah, it was more watered down than what I was used to. But I was so happy to have him there. Great technical wrestler. Great on the mic. Ted DiBiase is arguably one of your top mic person. Like he might not be your top 5, but he's one of the best people on the mic. He had the charisma, like he had that it factor. Ted DiBiase should have been a person that had a title on him. It sucks that WWE was more babyface than heel push because that's what really held DiBiase back, which was stupid because NWA made a lot of money with Ric Flair as a heel champion. I really think that the WWE could have made a lot of money with Ted DiBiase as the heel champion, but all the baby faces chasing him and getting the ultimate prize on like which baby face finally won it from him. Even if he had to be the Ultimate Warrior, who was nowhere near as good as him or whatever. You could have had a good heel run with him. I'm not saying it had to be a long run. You could get him a 6-month run with that title, have a babyface take it off of him. After the 6 months that he did, cutting the promos, doing what he's doing, cheating to win, all that stuff, made that win big for that person. They missed the boat with the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Marcus.
I watched a shoot interview with Ted DiBiase, and he said he was supposed to win that tournament at WrestleMania 4, but Savage politics and bitch so much to Vince that Vince changed his mind and let Savage win that tournament.
Well, Savage, he was supposed to get the Intercontinental title off of Honky, but Wayne Ferris decided to threaten to take the IC title to Crockett, and Vince changed up everything in order to keep the belt on him and give Savage the world title as compensation. So that's part of how that politics worked out there. Tony, I think that you're partially right in that WWF could have gone with a heel champion at certain points back in the day, but I think that because of the way that Vince McMahon set up his traditions, and especially because of the WWF before that, they always flipped the formula from the rest of the company and had their babyface as the main champion, as the figurehead. I don't know. I'm not really sure whether a WWF audience would have accepted an extended run of DiBiase. That I think the best way it could have worked is if DiBiase beat Savage at Mania 4 and kept the belt until SummerSlam 88 and then lost it to Savage.
That's about 5-6 months.
Yeah, and then by WrestleMania 5, you could have done the whole Mega Powers Explode thing, but there would have been more levels to it.
But could you think about it? Because back then, you could have a good 6-month heel reign because you didn't have like Monday Night Raw, like where like your main stars are there every single day. You could have done a 6-month run back then because your champion wasn't there all the time.
Yeah, and to think of it this way, Crockett's success with Flair was a double-edged sword. They always kept things stable by putting the belt back on Flair, but after a while, people got sick of that, and they should have been, they relied on him too much. I think we lost Marcus.
Yeah, we did. Well, we're good. He'll be back.
Hopefully, he'll be back here in a minute.
Yeah. Because, ladies and gentlemen, watching, like, there's a lot of weather issues going on in Chicago, and unfortunately, of the four of us, he's the one in Chicago dealing with all that stuff, like 6 to 8 feet of snow, high winds, all that shit.
Yeah, lake effect is a huge problem. Yes, it's terrible. So if we lose Marcus in and out, that's going to be why, unfortunately. But excuse me. You want to move on to our next subject?
Okay, the next one. I think this is going to be a fun one. It is our Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. The last time we did tag teams.
Yeah.
And we did tag teams because Undertaker did a Mount. Because I saw that Undertaker did a Mount Rushmore tag teams, and that's why I did that one. And I'll be honest with you, what motivated me for this one was Ric Flair did a Mount. I mean, not Ric Flair. I'm sorry, Hulk Hogan of all people. That disgusting, vile piece of shit did a Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta be honest with you, that piece of shit was on point with his Mount Rushmore. I liked his Mount Rushmore, and it made me want to talk about it. What will be ours? And the reason I like it is because throughout the four of his Mount Rushmore, I agree with, they're on mine, and one of his is not on mine. But I get it. Hulk Hogan's Mount Rushmore is the Nature Boy Ric Flair, Stone Cold Steve Austin,
okay,
The Rock, and Andre the Giant.
Okay, fair enough.
I got 3 out of 4 on Mount Rushmore, and I can't even argue with his. I can't. And I don't think anybody can, though, because when you look at the impact of the wrestlers that he had on the business, it's a good list.
Yeah.
And I honestly appreciate the fact that Hogan kept himself off that list.
Yeah.
And as much as I hate Hogan, anybody that have Hogan on his list, on their Mount Rushmore, I legit can't argue for what that man has accomplished in professional wrestling. I can't argue that.
I'll remember you said that.
He never been on my list. He won't be my Mount Rushmore.
I know.
But I couldn't be mad if he is, though, because Hulk Hogan is one of the biggest names of professional wrestling. Or not, you can't deny that. But as we kick off Mount Rushmore, and as I said, 3 out of 4 names was on my list, I'm going to start off on my list. Okay. Because, number one, the GOAT is Ric Flair on my list.
Okay.
The man is a 22-time world champion.
Mm-hmm.
Don't listen to the WWE BS for the 16th time. This man won 22 world titles.
When you count the phantom switches, yes.
There's shit that they don't count. He won titles. 22-time world champion.
And that's not counting tag team or US or intercontinental.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And a 2-time Hall of Famer. And we're going to throw that out and brag about that before that becomes like outdated, because at some point there's going to be a lot of 2-time Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
My number 2 wrestler, my number 2 on my Mount Rushmore, one of my all-time favorites, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Okay.
I love Stone Cold Steve. When he was stunning Steve Austin, making his debut in WCCW, I was in love with Steve Austin back then. I was a huge fan of Steve Austin back when he first started. Then he went to WCW. Then he was a Hollywood Blonde. But then he got to WWE. That he did all this shit that he did there, and everybody know what he did in WWE. But I was a huge ass Steve Austin fan in WCCW. I was a huge fan of his in WCW, and I love this work that he did with Brian Pillman. So my love for Steve Austin happened before he became Stone Cold Steve Austin, which is one of my favorite characters. Like, most of my logins is Motown 316. I love all of Ric Flair's promos. Ric Flair is the greatest on the mic. Dusty Rhodes' Hard Time is, but I'm not saying his King of the Ring is the greatest promo ever, but it's by far my favorite. Number 3 on my list. Actually, number 4. I'm gonna give you number 4 before number 3, because I already told you 3 of the people was on Hogan's list. So my number 4 is The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And I struggle with Rock being 4th, and I'll be honest with you, because The Rock is not the greatest wrestler in the world. When you look at, like, if I was going to rank wrestlers for purely for wrestling abilities, I don't think Rock would make my top 10. But the impact that man had on professional wrestling, his charisma, that it factor, just the way The Rock is, he's on the Mount Rushmore. He's one of the greatest performers ever, and he wasn't even the greatest performer in his era. And I know you hate Rob that he's back, but God, my God, that man is in better shape now than when he was wrestling full time. He captivates the audience. Like, when he comes out, you get the goosebumps. You don't, Rob, but the rest of us do. You want to hear what he's got to say. He's still magic. Like, he is right now one of the biggest stars in the industry. And he's doing it without being a great wrestler. I can't take shit away from him on that.
I don't have a personal problem with The Rock. I have a personal problem with the circumstance. It's not The Rock himself, but
I get that.
Yeah, to be fair, everything you're pointing out about the guy is true. It's just the circumstances which it is happening, but I digress. Go ahead.
Because back when he beat CM Punk to win the title, as much as I love The Rock, that pissed me the fuck off. The Rock don't need to be in a title picture. He don't need to have a title on his. He doesn't need it. He's a mega star. He doesn't need the belt. And I feel the same way about Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar never needed a title. He never needed to be in a title picture. Brock Lesnar could be Brock Lesnar when he has a title or not. And I think it would be better if he didn't have a title, because he didn't fucking need it. Now, the 4th person on my list, but really ranked 3rd, The Game, Triple H.
I thought you were going to go there, yeah.
I got him ahead of Andre, that Hogan had on his list. I got him ahead of Hogan. For me being my age and for what I watch for wrestling, I got him ahead of Bruno Sammartino. And part of the reason I got ahead of Bruno Sammartino is Bruno Sammartino deserved to be in the Mount Rushmore without a doubt. It's just before my time. Triple H is a great promo. Triple H has been in multiple factions that was phenomenal. Triple H is a damn good in-ring wrestler. And Triple H put him in a position to be one of the most powerful men in professional wrestling for the stuff that he's doing creatively behind the scenes now. Triple H is one of the GOATs, one of the smartest men in the industry. I honestly still to this day think that between him and Stephanie, that's the reason why Vince is not in charge no more. That's how smart this man is.
My jury's still out on that.
I know you still think that Vince got a hand in it, but I think the industry changed a lot. Like whether he's completely out of personally in or use or whatever, though, but you gotta agree, Vince don't have the same spot that he had like 4 or 5 years ago. Like before, Vince was completely in control. Oh my God, the Green Bay just got another touchdown.
We better get in Marcus before
Jerry Jones might have a heart attack before this game is over.
We better get in Marcus while we still can. What's your Mount Rushmore, sir?
We can't hear you.
You're muted.
We still can't hear you.
Something going on here.
Let's see.
Marcus?
Marcus, we can't hear you.
Damn.
He did that.
No, he might have logged out. We're probably going to log back in and see if that works.
Yeah.
Okay. Bobby, go ahead.
My Mount Rushmore, number one is Sting. Period.
Okay.
Period. If you got to ask why, then you got a problem. I think you need some melatonin or something like that to get some extra rest. Because that should be self-explanatory on why he should be on the Mount Rushmore.
I'll be honest with you. He's your first? Like, he's like your number one in your Mount Rushmore?
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not saying he's been on number one. I'm saying it's the first one I named.
Okay, cool. Okay. I had no questions.
Right. My next one is going to be Ric Flair.
Okay.
Ric Flair, again, if I got to explain why Ric Flair is on my Mount Rushmore, you don't know wrestling. I mean, it's just self-explanatory. Now, we get to the nitty-gritty here. Then we go with the other two. People gonna look at me like I'm crazy when I say this.
We look at you crazy a lot, so it's sad.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I definitely will say that. The next one I would have to say would be The Rock. I would have to agree with The Rock. The Rock has done a lot of electrifying things to motivate the crowd, what have you. But see, 4, I'm kind of hard. I'm torn. I'm very torn.
It's hard narrowing that shit down to 4, ain't it?
Yeah, because there's 3 people that can fit in that spot. One could be Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? 2 could be Stone Cold Steve Austin. And 3 could be Triple H. You know, all 3 of them are deserving to be on there. They're not deserving of the first 3, but they're all battling over that last spot. Now, I think I would have to go more with Andre the Giant when I think about this than the other 2.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being is because everybody wanted to see him. Non-wrestling fans wanted to see him.
That's attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was that special attraction that sold out everywhere he went back in the day. Okay. You can do that with the WWE machine now, and it's like, all right, you know what I'm saying? But he was doing it just like Ric Flair back in the day, where there was no machine, where there was not this marketing behind. These guys took it to a whole nother level and sold out stadiums. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at Stone Cold had the marketing machine behind him finally. I'm not saying he had it at the beginning, he had it finally. And The Rock had it finally, but he just does a lot of other crazy stuff to just, you know. But he's on there. That's why he's on there, because he does the other crazy stuff at such a high level until the machine to me doesn't matter. So I got to go with Andre the Giant for that sports spot.
Okay, let's get Marcus while we still got him.
Okay. Number one for me, I ain't really put them in any order, but first one I'm going to say is Flair. A lot of because of what Bobby said, for the man to go from city to city and put on 60-minute matches and carry the whole NWA territory for the years that he did it. I mean, and he had his in-ring skill promo, again, the greatest of all time. I think you got to start off any Mount Rushmore list with him being number one.
Before you move on, Marcus, sometimes he did those 60. Sometimes he did multiple 60-minute matches in a day.
Exactly. I mean, a Broadway was like nothing to him. Okay, number two, for me it's Andre, because again, like a lot of reasons that Bobby said. I mean, the man was a world renowned star. I mean, we look at how many promotions.
And we lost him a little bit there.
Ah, man.
While we wait for him to chime back in, though, I will say this when it comes. So here's my thing with Rock and Stone Cold.
Mm-hmm.
Same era. The Rock was Robin. Stone Cold was Batman. When they were doing this shit together.
Okay. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait a second. Hold up. You actually think that The Rock was Robin?
Rock and Robin.
Back then and doing the
It
Attitude Era.
doesn't matter what you do.
Well, okay.
Stone Cold was the face of the company. The Rock was big, but Stone Cold was the man.
Well,
During
okay.
their prime.
Rock and Austin are that classic rivalry like Hogan, Savage, and the Von Erichs and the Freebirds. They fit each other perfectly.
They did. But who was the champion? Who won those title matches? Who was the face of the company?
But
The Rock.
yeah.
The Rock.
The Rock was not the face of the company back then.
The Rock was the face of the company. He's always been the face of the company. He is the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. He has the most devastating move in professional wrestling history, the People's Elbow.
Where's Marcus?
Please bring back Marcus.
Oh my God.
Oh, man.
I could hold it in.
Okay. I'll go ahead with mine and we'll come back to Marcus if he's able to get back in. Three of mine were no-brainers, and the fourth one is kind of a personal favorite for me.
If you say the Young Bucks, I'm killing you.
Thank you for joining us on FTW Future Focus. That didn't really merit it, but I was just gonna no. Nick and Matt Jackson 1 and 2. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay. Hogan goes on the list because for obvious reasons. Ric Flair goes on there for the same reasons.
Woo!
Roddy Piper goes on my Mount Rushmore because those three guys were the no-brainers because they were they were the trinity of 80s wrestling. Hogan, Flair, Piper. They were like the triad of
Tell me
what
your number
made
4 is Iron Sheik. Tell me your number 4 is Iron Sheik.
No. My number 4 is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
I can
Because
see
when
that.
you
No,
because when
and for you, perfect.
yeah, because when you mention
Wait,
great matches of the
wait.
80s.
Time out, Rob. Time out, real quick. Going to go drift away from your wrestling to Dak Prescott just threw a pick 6.
Yes.
They
Yes.
down like 26-0, about to be 27-0 when they get this extra point. All right,
Yes.
you can
Well,
figure it out.
whenever I do a pick 6, I always lose. The scratch off never pays off. But never mind.
Long as you didn't scratch back, then it's cool.
Thank you for joining us on FTW Future. No, the reason that I put Steamboat up there is because whenever you mention memorable matches, great matches from the 80s, Steamboat's name always comes up in some capacity. Whether we're talking the Steamboat Flair trilogy of 89, whether you're talking the Savage match from Mania 3, whether you're talking the clinics that he had with Austin in the 90s over the US belt, whether you're talking the matches that he had with Rude in 92, just everything that Steamboat touched in the ring was golden. And that's why I think he deserves to be on at least my Rushmore, which were Hogan, Flair, Piper, the 80s trilogy, along with Steamboat.
I'm not mad at Sting on that. I mean, Steamboat on that though, because I was more of a Savage fan than Steamboat. Like that Mania 3, I was Savage all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal match.
Yeah.
The trilogy with Flair, I was more Flair person, but still phenomenal match.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of an Austin person. You see where I'm going with this? Like,
Yes.
my Mount Rushmore. Phenomenal matches, though.
Yeah. See, here's the difference.
Is that constant, though.
Motown, the main difference between you and me is that you were a heel fan. I was not. I was not. I was a lame ass traditional meat and potatoes wrestling fan who cheered for the good guys, and I still am. That's my commentary.
But I will say this though, for Steamboat, my absolute favorite match was his with Savage.
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania 3.
Yeah.
I've watched that match probably like 100 times. Talked my mom into like ordering that pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea it was gonna be $20. I was like a fucking kid back then. Cause like I'm thinking pay-per-view is gonna like it costs the same as the movies. The movies are like $3-4. That's how much. No, she's like, no, this is $20.
$20. Yeah.
Yeah. How you gonna work this off? And I worked my ass off for it too.
Yeah. And you were motivated to.
I watched that. I watched WrestleMania 3 more than any other pay-per-view ever.
Yeah, WrestleMania 3 was like Christmas, the 4th of July rolled into one. It was the real Super Bowl for us.
Yes, it was. But that match was just fucking classic. And then over the years, I heard the history, how like obsessed with Savage was, like on the details. I mean, like,
Bobby, is Marcus back in the studio? Is he froze?
He might not be. And I think Bobby's froze.
Bobby's froze. Well, that live.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay. Is he back in the studio, Bobby?
I don't see him. I don't see him.
Okay.
No. Okay.
How much more we got?
We only got a few more minutes though, but we can save like the what's better for next time because there's only a couple of minutes left. We got like you at work. We got technical issues. We can really wrap this up now. I thought this was a really good show.
I did too. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was entertaining, and I feel bad for Marcus because that's ugly.
Yeah, but we got half of his Rushmore. He got Flair and Andre up there. And to be fair, we're going to let him finish this in our next program. I think
Yeah.
that's only fair that we let him
Yeah.
finish it because we
Yeah,
love
we'll
you,
have more time.
Marcus. Yeah, we love Marvelous Marcus Buckley, and I want to hear everything he's got to say.
Yeah, I want to hear his 3 and 4. I think it's 1 and 2. I want to hear his 3 and 4.
All right, check this out. I don't love the man. He's cool. I don't love him like that. I mean,
Thank you for joining us on FTW Future Focus.
I can't believe, like, what you got us at, Rob? I got us at 7. You got us at 7?
Yes, I've got 7.
God damn, a show that I lead only did 7?
Hey, sometimes we're responsible adults here.
yeah.
I
Plus,
am?
I was at work. Plus, I was at work too. So
Yeah,
man.
That does help.
Next week I'm off. There you go. There you go.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, do want to thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Robert. You're not so humble correspondent, Robert Black. Thank you, Tony Motown Allen. Again, lovely old school show. He's the man. I am your host, the mastermind, Bob Rogers. Tune in next week. Stay tuned to the page because we might do a Saturday live show, Sunday taping. It just depends. I will find out tonight and let that out in the message board tomorrow. But you guys, please stay tuned. Tell your friends and everything to tune in because the more listeners we get, the more things we can do. And it's about that time. Let's make this move. So next week, don't forget, Dave Meltzer gets my mouth on grind my gears. It ain't in a good way either. No, it ain't.
You could have worded that a little better.
Dave Meltzer. Cocaine's a powerful drug.
Meltzer's about to get melted.
Meltzer's about to get drivered.
Hey.
Thank you for joining us on FTW Future Focus. That's 8.
All right. So, guys, we're going to get out of here. Mama, have a good day. And we will talk to you guys next week. Stay tuned to the message board to see when we're coming on live. We'll talk to you in a bit. Bye.
Hit it. Oh, how you feel, brother? Feeling good. You feel good? Feeling good. It's groovy. There's so much bone, brother. How you feel, man? I feel all right. I call your name. I don't want no people to know you're in here. How you feel, fella? That jam. Sure getting down. Look at him. Ha. We're gonna have a funky good time. 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 Let's take 'em up, Fred. We gotta take you high. Yeah. Ow. All right. You wanna do it again? You wanna do it again, huh?